Well, hello and welcome to the midweek edition podcast of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, along with my wonderful producer, Lindsay, and we are streaming from wonderful Bend, Oregon today. Beautiful, gorgeous weather. Excited to have our guest on today. You don't want to miss this. We are going to be talking about childhood obesity. Kyle Hudson is going to share his story. I have multiple times talked about the real pandemic in America is obesity, and that includes childhood obesity. Childhood obesity is becoming pandemic in America. What does that mean? That means it's spreading everywhere. It really, truly is. And just look around. Go to an aquatic center. Go to a school nowadays. I remember 30 some years ago, 40 years ago when I was in school, there was like one obese kid in school out of a class of 100. Now, like 50% of them are obese. It's scary. It's leading to diabetes. It's leading to heart disease. People are dying early. It's not good. So Kyle Hudson is going to tell us what changed his life and how he did it. And you want to listen to every piece of this because everybody is involved in the family, especially parents. So Kyle, without further ado, I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and tell us your story. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Shawn. Glad to be here. I'm Kyle. I live in Summerville, South Carolina. We're currently kind of warm and covered in pollen because it's springtime, and I'm just glad to be here with you.
Well, thanks for being on our show. I really appreciate it. These stories are near and dear to my heart. As many of you that follow our podcast know, or follow me on social media know, I had a son that was obese when he was 10 years old, and he ended up changing his life, and he's a rock star now. So I'm excited to hear about your story, Kyle. So tell us kind of how it started when you were younger. You didn't, you weren't born fat, right? I mean,
Right.
babies are born fat, but you weren't really born that way. So we can't really blame it on genetics, correct? I mean, it was something to do with your lifestyle. So tell us about that.
When I was a little kid, I was pretty skinny. I mean, probably up till I broke my arm when I was like 6 or 7. And so we didn't really play outside for a little while. And me and my brother actually broke our arms back to back. So we were both in casts, separate incidences. Actually, the doctor did call child services just to make sure. But yeah, so it was separate incidences, and we both broke our arms on the playground. And so we had casts, and we're kind of laid up for a little while. And so we just kind of got out of the habit of playing outside like we used to. And while we were kind of waiting on our arms to heal up, because we both had pretty bad breaks. And so that's when the weight started to pack on just a little bit. And then
what age, excuse me, but what age were you then?
I was probably about 6 or 7, if I had to guess. I'm pretty sure I was in first grade. Yeah. So that would be about 6 or 7. And, we just started getting heavier and heavier. And we never did quite get back into a regular, exercise routine. We'd go out and play a little bit here and there, but we just weren't as active as we used to be when we were before that happened. That was always a turning point that I could look back to. It's like when we broke our arms, that's when we started getting fat. So if you have a kid that breaks an arm, make them go outside and play anyway, because that was a big thing. Then when I was about 10, I was already pretty heavy at that point. But when I was 10, I slipped and fell in a restaurant and hurt my back pretty severely. I actually tore some muscles from my spine. And I'm sure my weight did not help with that. And so I was then really laid up. I was actually out of school for a little while. They had to do homebound stuff because I could not sit up while I was healing for more than like about 30 minutes to an hour at a time because my back was in such bad shape. I still have back problems to this day. And so that's when I just ballooned. I mean, just got huge. So by the time I was when I started to lose my weight at 17 or 18, I was 265 pounds at that point. So just got huge.
265 when you were 18 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm about 6'1".
Okay. Wow. Okay. And well, we're going to go ahead and show a picture of you when you were that weight and 18 years old. So tell us a little bit about how did you I mean, so then you decided to lose weight, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I was tired of being fat.
and so what was you say you're tired of being fat, but was there a straw that broke the camel's back? What was that? What was that last straw that said, okay, I'm done with this?
Honestly, I can't remember. Like any great motivators, probably girls. So yeah, I was just like,
Yeah, they'll do that.
yeah. I was just like, I'm tired of being fat. And um, I can't really remember anything specific. I just started to get tired of it. And I decided that I was just going to go start running. And that's what I did. I just started jogging every day without fail. And I jogged 2 miles. We'd moved out to the country at this point, and there was like a really awesome country 2 miles that I could jog. The scenery was nice. There was a good mix of inclines. There was this one big hill at the end that was always like the challenge to get through. And I just ran every day. I would run sick. I know I had a fever once, and in the South Carolina heat, I still went anyways, because I had tried losing weight several times before. So I'd kind of fluctuated a bit because there had been a few times that I would, try to lose weight. I would diet, I would exercise, I would do whatever. And then I would miss a day. And then that day would turn into 2 days, turn into 3 days. And before long, I was, back off the horse, and the weight would come right back on. And so I was determined that I could not stop for anything. And I thought at the time that if I got down to about 200 pounds, I'd be skinny, but I had a lot farther to go. Once I got there, I realized I had to just keep jogging. And so I jogged for about 6 months every single day, and I changed the way I ate, and I lost about 110 pounds in 6 months.
Good for 110 pounds in 6 months.
Yeah.
Holy smoke. So tell us about this picture. Can you see the picture we're streaming, Kyle?
Yeah. This was when we were in Chattanooga on a family vacation. Kudos to my mom for digging out all of our family photos, because I don't have any of these. Yeah, so that's my brother too, right behind us. And I was about 8, 9 years old at this point. That's how big we both were. And we were both skinny before we broke our arms. We were both like average skinny kids. We were healthy, always active. And then, that's what stopped it for us.
Kudos to you for making a goal and running every day, doing some kind of exercise every day. Commonly we say that 90 days is the way to maybe change a habit, to mostly change a habit. If you do something for 90 days, then, your habits will be changed. So tell us how much different you feel from when you are a fat little kid to where you were at this picture. Tell us about what age you were at this picture, and tell us how different you felt.
Yeah, I was 18. So this was actually one of my graduation photos. I felt great at that point because I had so much weight off of me. And the thing is I own a landscaping company. And so back at that point, we were just getting it started. And so I was had a very physical job, at that time. And so I was, out there in the heat, cutting grass all the time, working. I also worked construction. Had 3 jobs around that time because my dad was sick, and so he'd had some surgeries on his head because he's had cysts in his head. He's had them twice, and they had to do surgery on his head, and it would just leave him debilitated. And while he was healing, we were working a lot, and I cleaned a car dealership at night. Then I'd get up and go work construction during the day, and whenever I could grab a few hours, we'd cut grass in between. And so I would literally work, 12 to 16 hours a day. I mean, it was just crazy for a little while. And so it felt so much better because I had that weight off. And, it drags on you. I mean, if you could imagine, throwing 100-pound person over your shoulder and carrying them around all day.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it'd be like. Incredible. And so, and you telling me in the pre-conference call that, activity was never an issue in your guys' family. You got your dad is active, your brother was active with physical type jobs. So activity was never really the issue. And obviously you have good work ethic, from your family, talking about your stories, working 3 jobs and stuff. But even when you were heavy, you were working
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
working hard, right? But you were still overweight. So tell us about that. Obviously, it wasn't necessarily activity. It must have been diet, correct?
Yeah, and I tell people all the time I'm still really a fat boy at heart. That's my biggest problem in keeping weight off is how I eat. I still don't eat great, but I did for a while when I was losing the weight. I ate really good. I remember having nightmares. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I would have nightmares that I ate French fries.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I'd go, oh, thank goodness that wasn't true, and because I would think that I'd ruined it all. So, yeah, I remember me and my mom were talking about this just the other day because I told her that had been thinking about this, and me and her, when we'd come back from cleaning that car dealership, at night, it'd be about 1 o'clock in the morning, and she and I would just split a pack of Oreos down the middle. Like, you take this half and I'll take this half. And we did that a couple times a week. It was
Wow.
and so, and we live in the South. We're born and raised here in the South. I've lived in South Carolina my entire life. Southern food is our tradition, and that is my family's favorite style of cuisine. So it's smothered in gravy and fried, and that's the way we live life here. You know, and so that was a good bulk of our diet: pizza and just things we shouldn't be pigging out on all the time, and it was hard to change that. It was very hard, and I still struggle with it today.
So tell us, did you get any pushback from your parents when you started wanting to eat different?
Yeah, because I couldn't eat what the rest of the family was eating. So I remember once specifically, my dad was doing some cooking, and he'd cooked some fried pork chops and rice and gravy, which was my absolute favorite meal. And he
Yummy.
also probably knew that was my favorite meal. I loved it. It was so good. But I was just on such a roll. I was starting to lose weight. I think at that point I lost like about 30, maybe 40 pounds. And I just told him, I was like, I cannot eat this. I cannot eat this. And he'd worked real hard on the meal, and he got a little upset about it, and I remember me and him had some words about it. And I was just like, I'll eat an apple. Like, I can't, do this. I'm working too hard. And it got easier because when my family started to see the results, and what I was doing, they were kind of like, well, you can't argue with, it became 30, then 40, then 50, then 60, then 70. I mean, it was just like, wow, and then they really did get behind me on it when they saw that what I was doing. But I think it just started to click that what we were doing as a family wasn't healthy. And that stuff gets very, very ingrained, and it's hard to get out of that when it's part of your culture. It's part of Southern culture. I mean, we live in Charleston. Charleston is the pinnacle of Southern cuisine. I mean, we have some of the absolute best restaurants in the world here.
I gotta go there now. Now you're making me. Now you make me want to go there.
So me and my wife, we go on vacation quite a good bit, and we travel. And when we go to different cities, the only city I've ever been to that's got food that can even compete is Manhattan.
Is that right?
It is that
Wow.
good. And I've been to a lot of steakhouses in Manhattan. Never been to one as good as one of the ones we have. Hall's Chop House here, which is very, very famous steakhouse. They don't hold a candle to that steakhouse here. It's unbelievable. So we're just surrounded by bad food.
I think I know where I'm going this summer.
You should. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So back on your diet issue. So 110 pounds in 6 months, Kyle. I mean, honestly, I've helped and counseled and talked to thousands of people in their weight loss journey. And honestly, Kyle, I think that's a record that I've ever heard. I know people that have had bariatric surgery, and they take well over a year to lose 100 pounds. So kudos to you. Very, very life-changing, amazing. My question for you is, so everything got easier. Did you get more productive at work? Were you able to, talk about that? I mean, do you feel you were more productive at work after you lost weight?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while, and it's been a long time. So it's not super, super fresh in my mind, the difference, but I mean, it had to, because I mean, it gets 100 degrees out here in the summer. I mean, and we're just baking. And so not having that extra weight. And back then we didn't have the kind of equipment we do now. We were just getting started in high school. And so we were like literally push mowing everything we did. We weren't
Right.
riding around on mowers, and all of our equipment was junk. And so it took us forever. And yeah, I mean, and that was when we were starting our company, was when I lost the weight. And I think that that's part of what helped us get through it, because I'm not sure I could have done it if I had another 100 pounds on me.
Wow. Good for you. So did you, um, you had some pushback from some family, maybe. Did you inspire or encourage any of them to lose weight?
Yeah. At the time, my brother started losing some weight as well. Wasn't anything as drastic, but he started slimming down a bit at the time. And so he probably lost, he probably lost about 40, 50 pounds, if I had to guess, at that time, when he was around the same age. So about a year after I did it, he started working on that, and he lost a good bit of weight at that time also, because we're a big family. I'll
Yeah.
put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Big family.
And you lost your weight when you were 18. And how long have you been married?
I've been married for 8 years now. So I'm 29, and I got married right before I turned 22. So
And when did you meet your wife?
when I was 18, it was right after it was not long after I lost that weight, was actually when I met her, when I was super, super skinny. I was a little too skinny. Um, so yeah, that was actually when I met her, and we got married 3.5 years later.
Well, congratulations to that. So I'm assuming your wife is one of your biggest supporters and that she's not obese either.
No, no, no. She's very healthy weight. She puts me to shame all the time because she goes jogging and eats really good. In fact, she jokes all the time that I'm the reason she has to work so hard. Yeah, is because of the stuff I'm always convincing her to eat and go try in restaurants to do. Because, like I said, I'm just a fat kid at heart. I still
Right,
am.
right.
All the time. I'll eat a salad, but she could live off salad, not me. It's
Yeah.
just not happening. And then what I've been struggling with lately myself is because I've inched back up a bit as I've gotten in my later 20s. Is we are like a group of guys in our company, and it's just all, and we have a lot of younger guys, so it's like people bringing donuts all the time to work, and everybody wanting to stop at a fast food restaurant to eat and all that. So it's hard. It's hard, man.
Yeah, that can definitely be difficult. And one thing I was getting to about your wife, and I had no idea when you met her, and um, but you mentioned earlier in the show that you kind of were motivated to lose weight because of girls, like you wanted to look good, like a lot of guys do for good reason. I mean, it's biology, right?
Right.
Um, and it makes me wonder. I mean, I got to think that if, considering how healthy your wife is, that she probably would have not have been attracted to you if you were 110 pounds heavier, and
Yeah.
you literally changed your life and her life because of the changes that you made. I mean, kudos to you, right? I mean, do you have any
Yeah.
comments about that?
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Because I probably wouldn't have married her if she was 110 pounds heavier.
Right.
Let's just be honest here. So yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. And I think I remember her saying that, she thought that was really impressive, and that told her a lot about having the determination to do that, to stick with it. So, yeah, definitely changed my life in that way as well.
Yeah. Now, do you guys have any kids?
No, no,
You
not
don't.
yet.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, where I was going with that is if you do, I mean, it comes from the parents down, and childhood obesity is really a problem. And I am not by any means throwing your parents under the bus. They are, I'm sure, Kyle, they are very loving people. I'm talking about myself in general. For one, when I was 60 pounds heavier, I really couldn't blame it. I couldn't blame my son for being heavy,
Right.
because he was just learning from me. So how can we expect our kids to be ideal body weight when we're not? How can we expect them to have good eating habits or good exercise habits when we're not? And I see so many parents that they talk about their kids being heavy, but yet they're heavy. So, it comes from the parents. We have to be good role models as parents, and in order to make their changes. So, kudos to you. Um, you're definitely changing lives. So, I think one thing that I got out of our pre-conference call, and you're kind of getting a little to it here, is that it's not that you said your dad was a little bit overweight or maybe a lot, and your brother was too, but you guys were very active and you were active
Yeah.
too. So I think, and I talk about this on this podcast quite often, is that it's not, you can't exercise your way out of a poor diet.
Yeah.
So, and especially as we get older, although you're proof that we can't do it when you're younger either, but if you can't continue to eat healthy or exercise and eat horrible and expect to lose weight. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Because I know personally, I've been doing landscaping for 10, 11 years now. We've had our company, and we just work our butts off. We fry out there in the sun, and it's difficult to keep the weight off. And part of what happens too is sometimes if you work really hard, you start to feel like you deserve to eat what you want to eat, because you're like, I work
Yeah.
hard, I sweat, I deserve this piece of pizza. It probably isn't going to do anything. I've been sweating all day. Then you gain a pound or two, and you're like, oh, I'll probably just burn it back off, and it never comes off. You keep telling
Right.
yourself that it will, and it does. You cannot, if you burn, 3,000-4,000 calories a day, out there working, and it's all sweat and all this stuff. But then you eat 5, or 6.
Right.
Math is math.
Right.
Yeah.
Calories in,
Yeah.
calories out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really is. It really is that simple. I get it. It's not quite that simple because not all calories are created equal, but still to your body, fuel is fuel, and you will store extra calories as fat, or you will burn the fat if you have, no excess of calories. So, yeah, and it is, if you eat healthier foods and whole foods, it is harder to get more calories, but still, it's still possible. You could you could eat too much good food and still gain weight if you're just in excess of calories. So
that was a big challenge when I was losing the weight. One of the biggest challenges was, I think my stomach was just so stretched and so used to overeating. I had the hardest time getting down to where I was just portion control. That was the hardest thing, because I just felt so hungry for a while, and it took a while. But I eventually got down to where, I could eat what a normal person would eat,
yeah.
and feel full.
Well, I think, through my weight loss journey, when you talk about portion control, I think portion control is the major, it's not just the foods we pick.
Yeah.
It's portion control is our major issue in America. I mean, we supersize everything. Bigger is always better. And I remember the first time I ate out a regular meal after I'd lost like 60 pounds. And my wife and I went to a local Mexican restaurant. And I think we were sharing, I can't remember, but I got this plate of fajitas and, with tortillas and the refried beans and everything. And I mean, it was a plate like this,
Yeah.
and I thought about it, I was like, my wife and I can share this
Mhm.
4 times and have a meal. I mean, and it's like, and then I thought to myself, it's like, I used to eat all of that by myself.
Right.
And you're right. I think it takes about 90 days for our stomachs just to kind of shrink and get used to, those smaller portions. And there's a lot of other factors that go on too when it comes to satiety and stuff. And a lot of it is probably mental too. Is it's like, I don't really need that much food.
And I think we also have a idea in our culture a lot that you cannot waste or cannot, if it's there or if it's served to you, you have to eat it all.
Yep.
On my mom's side of the family, we're Jewish, and her father was a concentration camp survivor. And he always taught them, you eat every last that you, because you never know. And
Yeah.
so that attitude is then just passed down.
Yeah.
And I know, it drives me nuts to waste any bit of food. Like if it's served, I feel like I got to eat it. It's a hard struggle.
I am still that way, Kyle. And I try to teach, and I kind of taught my kids that way when they were younger. And then when we started dealing with weight loss issues, I realized it's like, and I told them this, it's like, look, it's either wasted, it's either wasted there in the garbage or it's wasted around your waist. Which would you rather have? So
Right.
wasted there or wasted around the waist. And, there's some truth to that. I can tell you a story of my son losing weight. And when the strawberry with camel's back, as he was eating an ice cream bar and he was 10 years old. And I asked him, I said, hey, how much do you weigh? And he kind of fibbed a little bit. And I said, well, let's go weigh. And we weighed, and he was really surprised about his weight, and he was very upset. And before he even got on the scale, he took that ice cream bar and he laid it down and he said, Dad, I don't want that. And I said, all right. I said, you're going to take that and you're going to throw it in the garbage right now. And, of course, both him and I were crying because after he got on the scale, because he was so upset, and it made me cry. But it was very symbolic. It's like, you know what? I was part of the problem. It's like I told my kids to eat everything. I mean, that's part of the problem, and I
Yeah.
still struggle with that. And there's some tips. I'm not saying I follow them all, but there's some tips with that. When you eat at a restaurant, don't take home leftovers. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't. I do take home leftovers, but really, if you really want to be strong about this and start a new life journey about weight loss, that's one of the things. Is, no leftovers. And when you're done eating, throw it away. I know that's hard for some people. And evolutionarily speaking and biologically speaking, we didn't have excess food. So, not just the concentration camp like your was it your grandpa? Great grandpa?
Yeah, it was my mom's dad.
Okay, your grandpa was in, but hundreds of years ago, we didn't have excess of food. So anything we ate, anything we had in front of us, we ate. Well, here's the problem in America. We literally, when we get home or when we're traveling in from work, have an unlimited food source. Most of us have an unlimited food source, especially when we get home. We have a pantry, fridge, freezer full of food, and and it's darn near unlimited. And that's part of the problem, is that we have unlimited food. So, that's a great comment that you have about, eating everything on your plate, because we when we're taught that, it can definitely drive bad habits.
Definitely.
So what is you're maintaining your weight loss for the most part. What is your do you have any long-term goals with weight loss? Do you have anybody that you would like to inspire or make sure they know your story, or maybe change their life because they are having weight issues?
Well, long-term goals, I don't want to get like where I was again. I don't, and I've crept back up there, and so I'm trying to. I mean, nowhere near where I was, but I still like it's. I could probably stand to lose a few pounds now, because it's just, with COVID and all that, it's creeping up. And my main goal right now is to not have to buy new suits once we go back to. So I've got a closet full, and I do not want to have to buy new ones, and it's getting there.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. And
yeah.
that's one of the things too that we can use to motivate ourselves, is things like that, including, that's a non-scale victory. We don't have to live and die by the scale, but when our clothes start fitting us different and we have to buy new clothes, or, we don't look in the mirror, we look in the mirror, we don't like ourselves necessarily, then, that's a non-scale way to promote our weight loss. So, that's a great tip for sure. So Kyle, you have a successful landscaping business. You've changed your life by losing 110 pounds. What do you have? What do you have a passion for? What drives you?
Well, one of our big things that with our company is we try to really help a lot of young men. It's not necessarily about landscaping. It's, we try to teach some of these young men how to be men. And, that's one of the things I have a passion for with our company is we don't just cut grass. We have leadership training. We also try to grow the company in a way so that as these guys get older, and have families and mortgages and all that, they also have room to grow in the company and their income go up as well. So we're real conscious about that, and that's a big passion that I have is developing the guys that we have, helping them along, being there for them. That's one of the reasons I get up in the morning.
That's really, really cool. So what's the name of your landscaping company, Kyle?
So we're Hudson Bros Lawn Care because it started out with just me and my brother. But now we've got about 11 guys, and even our dad has come aboard, and he runs our fertilizer and weed control division. And so he's doing a great job with that. So it's really a family company now, but we've got a lot of our friends working with us. Yeah, there's our website. Very proud of that. So if you happen to be in Summerville area, you can feel free to give us a call. But I'm sure your listeners are probably all over the place.
Yeah, they are. But how close is Summerville to Charleston?
We are about from the interstate. It's about a 20-minute drive. But Charleston, we joke. I don't know if you've ever seen "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," where it says it's a geographical oddity, 2 weeks from everywhere. Charleston. Everywhere in Charleston is 45 minutes to an hour to another part of the Charleston area. It's because we have a lot of water that runs through and bridges. And so it takes forever to get anywhere in town. So 45 minutes is always the answer.
Well, you've got me thinking about Charleston. I'm gonna have to talk to my wife and see if we can make a summer trip to Charleston. We'll have to stop in and say hi to you guys and meet your wife.
I'd be happy to show you around.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So Kyle, this has been a great show today. Thank you for sharing your story. You were, I think one of the goals of our podcast is to educate and empower consumers that they are in charge of their own health. And, one of the most important things we can do to stay healthy is to be a healthy body weight. And I think you have definitely made our goal today with inspiring and educating our viewers, to be in charge of their own health. So I appreciate you being on. That's a very, very strong story. And I really, really appreciate it. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And Monday, tune in Monday, we will have Brad Brown on. He is a doctor, and he's a doctor actually in residency still, and he will be opening his own practice soon in Colorado. Stay tuned for him. He's got a great story about why he's going into direct primary care and getting out of traditional healthcare. Got a friend that we've interviewed before on our show. And he is an entrepreneur, and he designed an EMR. So anybody electronic medical record, anybody that is in the healthcare industry and they want to know about the EMR that was designed by a physician, listen to this one because it'll be really, really good. So tune in Monday, like we stream every Monday, 12:30 to 1, Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, 12:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. And thank you for listening and watching Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Thank you.